All right, welcome back to Talk the Talk with Tribe Title. Today's guest is Lisa Soulliere with Crow's Nest and Keller Williams Real Living. Thanks for coming on today.
Oh, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So quickly what I do, I'm just going to dive into kind of your background and figure out a little bit more about you. So you've been in real estate how long now?
A little over 3 years now.
Okay.
Yep, 3 years.
And have you always been with Keller Williams or were you somewhere else first?
No, I was with Real Estate One with Kirsten, my daughter.
Yep.
So she's the one that talked me into doing this crazy thing that I'm so thankful for.
Yeah.
So we went there. It was kind of strange because the only person I knew there was her.
Yeah.
And the office that we were at kind of had their cliques. And so I'd go and sit in the office and you're kind of twiddling your thumbs, not knowing what to do. And she's giving me guidance and so forth. And so it was just kind of difficult, to first get going into that. And I had known Erin from a B&I group that we both belonged to a while back. And so she got to know Kirsten and so forth and found out that we were related. And so Erin just started trying to recruit Kirsten, and with that comes me tagging along. So we ended up going over there. So that was, I started in September. So January of that next year, we moved over to Keller Williams, and oh my gosh, what a difference.
Yeah, I'd say it's been quite a change for her and yourself as well. So as with that transition came, then she started Crow's Nest, right, which is your guys' team.
Yeah.
That was shortly after you guys came over to KW, correct?
It was, it might have been a year after, something like that. She decided to do that and have her own logo and have her own identity for the most part, because she was hindered with that, with being at Real Estate One for as long as she was, because she was on a team.
Right.
So her biggest thing was she didn't want to have a team and have to have people giving her money, all the others, like she had done, although she learned so much, that's where she learned everything. So it was a great thing for her, but it was time for her to move on. So with her own identity and so forth. And so it was perfect for her to make that changeover.
Yeah.
We're still under the Keller Williams umbrella, but she has her own identity, which is important because she is just rocking it out, and she's killing it.
Yeah,
and
you
it's
both
great
are.
to see. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun too. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's incredible. Now, so your background, it's probably a big transition for you because you came from something that you were basically the expert in, correct?
Absolutely.
So what did you do
years.
before?
I was in the car business. So I started out at the age of 19 selling cars. I went from selling appliances to selling cars, and had a lot of fun, had a ball.
Yeah.
Moved into management there, did customer relations. I was a customer relations rep for the dealership, and then moved into, as I went along, did special finance. I did finance, sales manager. And then towards the end, probably the last 10 years or so, was a BDC manager. So I was running a BDC for the dealership. So I was the one that had all the answers.
Yeah.
And coming into this not knowing anything and having to ask questions, and especially to my daughter, right? Who I've groomed and so forth, over the years. It was it's an ego kick,
right?
You know what I mean? It's a kick in the gut, because you're so used to having all the answers, and when you don't have the answers, it's really tough. And I'm one that doesn't like to ask for help,
right?
So it's very difficult for me, but I'm getting through it. I'm learning more. I don't have to ask as many questions.
Yeah.
But every transaction is different.
Yeah.
Everything. So it's whether it's calling you guys at Tribe or calling Kirsten or somebody else. It's, it's difficult, but I'm having a ball. I mean, it's great to learn this, and have this kind of semi-retirement to where I can still have the freedom that I want that I never had before.
Yeah. Now that transition, did you retire from your previous job, or you just switched over?
No, I retired. I retired from it. And it was tough to give up that kind of money that I had, over the years. When you start getting six figures, it's kind of, you rely on that. And then to go to nothing was tough. And then, getting back into something else that you don't know, you just keep in the back of your mind that this too shall come. Yeah. Right. And that's where I'm at. So, and I'm surpassing my goal from that I had for myself for this year. Yeah. And I'm going to go for another 6 units next year.
Nice.
So, so, I mean, I think I'll have, 12, well, I'll have 12, possibly 14 units this year. Okay. I was shooting for 12.
Which is great, especially in this year where everybody's, saying doom and gloom. So that's incredible.
Kirsten has over 40, but that's okay. That's good for her. She's
Which is
it out.
Wild. I mean, it's like, and then you talk to people about they always talk at Keller Williams about the mindset difference. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you buy into that, doom and gloom, then that's the results you're going to get.
Well, it's not with anything in life.
Right.
Right.
which is huge.
Yeah.
And it's cool that they cover that mindset piece because that is such a big part. Whereas like to Kirsten and yourself, everything probably seems normal because you guys are just cruising along and killing it.
Yeah, but we still have to be careful about what's coming up. You know, you still have to be cognizant of that. And again, it is a mindset, because if you keep telling yourself you can't,
Right.
you can't.
Yeah.
If you say I can, damn well going to do it.
Right.
I mean, it's just how it is.
Yeah. What was that? Henry Ford that said, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
You're absolutely right. 100%.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
So now it's probably, I mean, like hearing what you did before, it's probably got a lot of similarities. Like you're probably very used to the, you're only as good as your last month, which is very much automotive, same type of deal. Egos, I'd imagine. I've worked in car dealerships before. I know that the egos of salespeople can get pretty high when they're good. But yeah, the ups and downs is probably something that you're very used to.
I am. And the thing is with that too, I mean, you have the mindset and building relationships and so forth. The nice part about selling a home is you're not selling a home. You're selling yourself.
Right.
Right. And it's all about building that relationship. If you don't have that relationship, first and foremost, you don't have the client that's going to, believe in you 100%.
Right.
And if that's the whole goal. But I'm not selling a house. I don't go into a house and I say, well, it's got this, and giving features and benefits of different things. I'm showing them the house, and I have to be their fiduciary. I have to be on their side and actually, no, this is not the right house for you, and this is why.
Right.
Or yes, this is the right house for you, and this is why. How do you feel? Type thing. I'm not actually trying to sell something like in a car dealership.
Right.
I mean, you're trying to sell every car that you
popping the hood, doing the walk around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. You're doing your hood to trunk and so forth, and your demonstrations on everything, and it's a much different thing when it comes to that, which is more me.
Yeah.
I was always accused that I was always too nice to my customers.
Right.
And I cared too much.
The closing thing, which that was when I was in it. It was brutal because they would sit there, talk to them for 2 hours, test drive it, run numbers, show them all the features, and then, okay, well, thanks. I'm going to take that and go down the street and see if I can shave $200 off.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, let me go get my manager for you. Always be closing, all the other crap and everything else. And it was fine. And when I first started, I had a ball. Yeah. The business was so different back then.
Yeah.
We could actually have so much fun selling cars. Right. It was great. Put in a lot of hours. Of course, I was younger too, but it was more fun. And then the government gets involved, right? And then they change all these things, and it made it more difficult to sell cars, although it was much better for the consumer at that point, and the fun kind of went away. Yeah. But, it was something that was in my blood. It was something that was, it was me, The disadvantage is I missed a lot of the stuff that my kids, growing up. Right. I wasn't home during the day. I was at every, baseball game and hockey game and softball game and whatever it was. But it was just a lot of hours put in.
Yeah, dealership hours are brutal. And then when they did the weekend thing, I remember they used to be closed on, what was it, Sundays and Mondays or something?
Saturdays. Well, when I first started, the dealership that I worked at worked only Monday through Friday. Yeah. They were closed on the weekends, and Monday and Thursday were late nights, so it wasn't a big deal. Right. And the reason I went into car sales is because I was a softball player. Yeah. And I had just made the Little Caesars softball team, so it was a big thing. So we went away for tournaments and so forth. And so somebody said, get into the car business. They don't work on the weekends. I'm like, all right, sure. Yeah. So I went into it, right? And it was great because I could work my week and then go do my thing with softball and everything else. Right. But that's what did it. And that's what got me into it. And then it's just like, it's like a drug. Yeah. It gets into you, and it's so much fun. Right. And then, over the years, I finally ended up working at a dealership where the general manager wasn't the best guy, and it made me realize that the money isn't worth it. Yeah. It's what's here is what's worth it, And so retiring wasn't that difficult. Right. It really wasn't when it came to that. Yeah. And then once I was out, realizing the world around me, how cool it was, and time is so much more valuable than money. Yeah. And so that was awesome for me. But the biggest thing for me is building these relationships with the clients, and making them friends, and creating bigger families, and so forth. And that to me is just so rewarding. Right. And that's the cool part is like with the car, it's so transactional, so quick. And it's like, 2 hours, they're in finance, then they're out the door. You never see them again. There's not much loyalty. They don't usually come back to you. Whereas houses, like you said, you can build a relationship. These people can become your friends. They know you, trust you, like you. They're going to refer you then to other people. How much of your business has come from referrals and people 100%.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, I don't buy leads. I don't do anything like that. It's all been friends, family, referrals. No, I take what I've had one phone call that I actually made the sale on. And it was a fluke call that came into Keller Williams, and I ended up getting it. And come to find out, the guy had been looking on, had seen a house for sale with the Keller Williams, and went looking through the list and said, I saw your picture. This is later on down the road. I found out how he found out about me. He said, I saw your picture and you looked really nice.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, well, that's really cool. He says, so I thought I'd call you.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, that's great. You know, here I haven't been in the business that long, and you reach out to me.
Yeah.
And I ended up selling his condo and selling them a home.
Right.
And it was perfect. And they're great people, a great family.
Yeah.
Live close by the house. I see them all the time. And it's nice. It's like we're friends now. You know, I have another family that's part of my family.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's
and they'll
fun.
probably come back to you.
Absolutely. I have no doubts about that.
That's great. And now, do you guys implement a process in order to like keep touching these people so that you can keep them in your sphere?
Yeah, we have a CRM, so it's a customer retention management system. Not that I use it that much because, you know, with the amount of clients that I have all of my emails and I have my own database for the most part. So I'm constantly reaching out to them, you know, birthdays, house anniversaries, you know, things of that nature. Just checking in to see how you're doing, holidays, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So I try to stay in contact with them as well. And I've had a few. I've had 3 that are repeat clients that have bought and sold.
That's great,
yeah.
Especially in that short amount of time.
Absolutely. So it's nice, you know. And I've got another one that I'm working on now as an investor that's called me, you know, a couple times. So it's all about, you know, building that relationship.
Yeah.
That's all this business is relationship building.
Yeah, I agree. And then as far as like investors, are you trying to educate yourself more on things of that nature? Because I know investors sometimes look at different things like, you know, return on investment, possible rentals, depending on what they're looking for, flips.
I'd like to learn
a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd like to learn more about it. Most of the guys, the few gentlemen that I'm working with right now, know a lot about it and have flipped. Yeah. Basically what they needed was someone to open the door.
Okay.
So I've gotten the calls to open the door, but then built that relationship with that. Yeah. In fact, I've got a showing tomorrow from somebody that I had done a couple weeks ago. We ended up not putting an offer in on the house, but they remembered me.
Yeah.
And she called me yesterday and she said, it was her and her husband. She called me yesterday and she says, you know, we found this other house we'd like to go take a look at. You know, are you available? I'm like, absolutely. Yeah. Let's do it. So, you know, hopefully I have them in my back pocket, which is nice.
Yeah,
so,
especially if they're flippers. I mean, then you're going to get that repeat.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it's all about.
Very cool. And then it keeps you kind of looking in a different realm too, because I noticed when you're flipping, you're obviously looking more into the details of the house. You're trying to find which ones are rough inside, you know, which ones are underpriced.
Right.
Kind of gives you probably a better feel for the market itself.
It does. But I have to keep I think I have to keep my opinions to myself when it comes to that too, because you never know what they're looking at and what they're, you know, where they're at as far as what they can do.
Right.
So this one that we found on a lake, I mean, I walked in, it was just like small. You couldn't get to the basement unless you had to go outside to go downstairs to the basement. It was just really strange. And I'm thinking, why would anybody buy this house? Right. And yet these guys, and I had another client too that was interested in it too. And it was just, they're really into it. And I'm like, okay. So I just need to sit back and listen rather than talk.
Yeah, because depending on what their scope of work is comfortably, I mean, they could do incredible things with it.
Exactly. Because there was a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
Me, I couldn't do it. But with them, hey, go for it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just a matter of editing myself.
Yeah.
And that's something that's difficult for me because I like to talk.
Right.
So it's kind of difficult.
Yeah, it is tough. I actually parted ways with my last realtors. They were friends of my in-laws, and that's how I got in with them. But I was doing flips, and one of the flips they showed me, they tried talking me out of several times, and I bought it anyway. And that was one of the ones I did like 100% return on. That was my biggest profit on any flip that I'd ever done.
No kidding.
And they tried talking me out of it several times. And I was like, okay, I need different realtors that aren't going to get in my way. Because had I listened to them, and my in-laws were saying I should listen to them.
Right.
If I would have listened to them, I would have walked away from all that money.
Right.
So that was, like you said, it's huge just sometimes to keep your opinions to yourself, you know, show them what they need to see. But at the end of the day, you don't know really what they're looking for, what their scope of work is.
Absolutely. And ultimately it's like, you know, I'm the professional real estate agent, right? Only been doing this a few years, but they've flipped a lot more houses than I've probably sold, you know, or, well, not necessarily sold, but I mean, they've they've flipped a lot more and they know more about that than I do. So I
Right.
just sit back and I learn.
Yeah.
I listen and I learn.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way that you can learn anything is by, exposing yourself to different situations.
Yes.
And opening up those ears, listening with both of them.
Yeah.
And retaining it.
Right.
Because that's how you learn things.
Yeah.
Touching, feeling, listening, whatever. The auditory way is the best way to do it for me.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. I mean, even these podcasts, I learn a ton because I sit here, for 30 to 45 minutes.
Right.
And I talk to somebody and I listen to what they're saying and I learn something new every single time. I learn something about them. I learn something about the business. So like you said, it's really cool just to listen and figure out what you're going to learn.
Yeah.
Which
It's
is
awesome.
exciting. Now, do you see yourself ever getting involved in that type of thing? Do you have any desire to do investment properties or flips yourself or rentals?
Kirsten's really pushing towards that. She
Yeah.
would really like to do that. So with us as a team, and ultimately that's my goal, is for us to work together as a team,
Yeah.
getting Aaron involved, getting my husband involved once he retires,
Right.
Things of that nature. So I think that on the horizon, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Right.
It's scary to take that money out not knowing,
Right.
but my husband's pretty handy. Aaron's very handy. Kirsten can paint, and I can sit there and tell them what to do,
Right.
more than anything else.
Yeah.
But so I think that's something that's probably on the horizon
Yeah.
to do, because I know she really has the bug to do it, because she's spoken to you,
Yeah.
Dominic, and the rest of them, that really are into investing that stuff and have done that. And it's something that's probably a smart thing to do for us,
Yeah.
especially with what's coming up in the future. You
Exactly.
don't know. So it might be a good way to get a nice revenue stream coming in,
Right.
albeit small or large, whichever it is. But I think that might be the way of the future,
Yeah.
for some of the stuff.
Especially for younger buyers, it seems they have no interest in doing any of the work. Like I went to a couple
Yeah.
this week that I went to look at, and I got worried because I showed up to them and there was people in there, and I'm thinking like, oh no, somebody else is going to make an offer, and these were rough houses.
Right.
And I show up there and I see the young couples walk in and immediately walk out, and I go like, that's perfect, because
Yeah.
they have no desire. But that would be the same person. Then they'll come back 2 months later when it's ready to flip and pay $70,000 more for it.
Absolutely. It's because it's the price point.
Yeah.
They're looking at the price point.
Right.
They're saying, okay, gosh, it's a $120,000 house.
Right.
Right. Oh, I can afford that.
Yeah.
And they get in and they go, I could afford that, but then I can't move in because it
Right.
needs new floors and new everything, whatever.
Yeah.
And
Or
so
it's gross.
Right.
And they don't even want to clean it.
Right. Exactly. And that's the easy part, right?
Yeah.
But if you have that vision to be able to look beyond that, and I think Kirsten really has that vision.
Yeah.
Because she's been doing this so long and she's seen so much. I've looked at some of these and I think, why are you buying this house?
Right.
And and then it's beautiful afterwards, like you said, and somebody can make some money. And so why not us?
Right.
Right.
And it's fun.
Is it fun?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
going to take
love
your word
it.
for that.
Yeah. That's what I was talking to Aaron about. It's one of the funnest things to do because you get to see every day when you leave, you can see the change you made. It's immediate gratification, and it's just you most of the time. It's you in there by yourself. You turn on the radio. You don't focus on anything but the work. It's just very calming in a way. Till you go home at night and then you start thinking about the numbers and all the money
Exactly.
on the line and things like that.
Yeah.
And you stress. But
Yeah.
as far as like doing the work, it's extremely calming.
Well, and that's what it is. I mean, labor is your biggest cost anyways. I don't
Yeah.
know whether it's fixing a car or whatever it might be.
Right.
Labor is your biggest cost. So,
Yeah.
I mean, although, lumber and everything else is quite expensive,
Yeah.
but it has come down quite a bit as
Right.
well. So I think we're on the downside of the bubble for that stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and to be able to make that money. And now that we're in such a realistic market, which
Right.
is nice too.
Yeah.
It's good for everybody at this point. And I think that hype that's going on about interest rates and all the other stuff, it's like, okay, well, we hear the term all the time.
Right.
Marry the house,
Yeah.
date the rate, right?
Right.
I mean, that's something that we use. But it's so true because, you get a house at a really good price now. Yeah, you're paying a little bit more here.
Right.
Your payment's going to be about the same, but
Yeah.
you're paying less for the house. You're not paying $30,000 or $40,000 over what they were asking for it. You're paying $20,000 less.
Yeah. And you're going to refinance that number, not
Exactly.
the total. Yeah.
Exactly. So which way would I rather be? I'd rather be in the situation we're in now.
Right.
Because it helps everybody out. So
Yeah.
it's a matter of getting rid of that stigma and so forth, so that everybody can. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
You're looking at things in a realistic way.
Yeah.
So.
And what do you think you've learned from the past? Obviously, automotive being, very similar as far as rate driven, inflationary. I'm guessing being in it for 37 years, you've probably been through quite a few of these ups and downs.
Yes.
So where do you see the market going as far as, getting bought into the hype and the gloom and doom? Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel?
Absolutely. Turn the TV off. Stop listening and watching the news. Whether you're looking at Fox or CNN or the local news, whatever else, everything is always, mortgage rates, housing market's going to crash.
Yeah.
It's the sky is not falling.
Right.
Right. Let's just move on. Because we've been spoiled at this 2 and 3%, which is not realistic whatsoever.
No.
I think in 1986, when I bought my first house, I was paying 15% interest.
Yeah.
Okay. It's what it is. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So how many times did I refinance that house? Every time it dropped.
Yeah.
Right? I could refinance it,
Yeah.
right? And so that's how we have to look at this. And this is how we have to address our clients as well, is taking a look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
You can't put blinders on and take a look at a certain way and be going down the rabbit hole,
Yeah.
right? Let's be realistic about everything. Yeah, rates are higher. Okay, so they've come down to what, 5-6% now?
Right.
And where are they at, right?
Yeah.
So that really isn't bad. It's where it should be.
Right.
In all reality.
For a healthy economy.
Absolutely. And it benefits both sides.
Yeah.
People are still selling houses.
Right.
People are still buying houses.
Yep.
Why not?
Yeah. And it's like the thing you said too, it's like now I'm seeing houses when I get my listings for flips and things. There was 7-8 months there. I didn't see anything because nothing fell within that point. And now it's like I get flooded with them, which I'm like, this is great.
Yeah. You have options.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like I was talking to Vic last week about it, and he was saying it's weird. It's like everybody has that kind of group mentality. So it's like everybody draws back, and everybody's like, well, I'm not going to be the one to step out. But it's like now is the time to step out.
Absolutely.
You should step out when everybody else is stepping back, because that's when you have a chance to really get a deal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then wait till it goes back the other way, and then you're going to be the person fighting again. And you can't get a house.
Absolutely. And you've got sellers that before, when we were going crazy, they don't want to sell their house because, they're going to have to buy something and pay extra for it. I had one client that I sold their house for $40,000 more than they were asking for. It was great. They were so happy. They couldn't believe, all the stuff.
Yeah.
And yet they wouldn't pay extra for the other houses, right? They were on the market for almost a year looking for another house because they were so picky.
Right.
Granted, you have to be picky. It's your home.
Yeah.
But price-wise and everything else, they have to be competitive. And they wouldn't be competitive, yet they got all that extra money the last time. So, it's more like with this realistic market, people shouldn't be afraid to be putting their house up on the market.
Right.
Because you're going to get into something else that's going to be in the same situation. Yeah. And with the advantage that we have now is because of all of this craziness that we've had, it's increased the market values, right? So everybody's house is worth more because your neighbor sold for $40,000 more than what they thought, right? It's increased the value. So your house, you can still sell it for more than you ever thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the values are there and it's going to appraise out.
Right.
So, it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Yeah, and values are going to keep going up.
Absolutely.
Like I think they said it's gone up 4% even through recessions other than 2008, which obviously that was a self-created problem.
Right.
But before that, even through recessions, home prices increase, roughly 4% a year.
As they should. It's property.
Yeah.
It's real estate. They don't make any more of this stuff.
Exactly.
Right? This is what we're dealing with.
That's what got the investing bug in my head, was the fact that I'm thinking like, there's no other thing that's going to continue to rise pretty much no matter what.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Regardless of what the situation is.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So it's like, you can't lose. And then when they start talking about breaking down like 401ks, and people I say, well, you need to put money in your 401k. And then when they break that down, the way they actually project those returns, the math on it is so backwards that if you really look into it, most of them aren't making anything. By the time you take out your fees, and then the way they calculate what the increases are, and it's all fake math. It's advertisements to sell you on it.
Right. Well, and the other thing, how about crypto?
Yeah.
Right. Look what's happened with that, right? All those people that were invested with that one guy, right?
Yeah.
So do I want to invest with somebody else, or do I want to invest in me?
Right.
Right. And what I can do.
Yeah.
I'm betting on me.
Yeah.
Because all I care about is me, right? And my family. These people with the crypto or all these other investments, I don't trust anybody else with my money.
Right.
I really don't. And the only one that cares about it is me.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And you look out for yourself, right? So I think that when you look at it and looking at a lifetime of the track that we're looking at, you're absolutely right, 100%.
Yeah.
It's going to continue to rise.
Yeah.
And what we need to do is the media needs to start pushing the positive about this, right? As opposed to the negative. This is terrible, this is horrible, this is killing, the market's dead. It's not.
No.
And if you get somebody that has the guts to go and start talking about the positive things that are happening and why this is good, I think that'll make the change with the mentality out there for the market out there.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like media goes for ratings, which is crazy because most of them now, news channels, they're not even listed as news channels. They're entertainment because that's all it is. It's not actual news.
Right.
But yeah, they go for the ratings. They go for the gloom and doom because that's what people love. They love, scaring people.
Yeah.
But it's like if you go down that rabbit hole and take some time to find other things, you can go down a rabbit hole the opposite direction where they're like, this is great. Everything's great. This is the time to buy. Now's the time to buy. Like you can go down it either way you want and find facts to back it up. So it's like, why don't people just go the other way and look outside of what's being pushed down their throat and figure out like, this is probably one of the best times to buy that there has been in the last 2.5 years.
Yes. And sell.
Right.
Because again, you're the best of both worlds here.
Yeah.
The market or the values of your homes have gone up.
Right.
Sell it.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so you're not getting $30,000 over. But you know what? You really are because that house was worth $30,000 less.
Right.
A year ago.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's moved everything up.
And you're not going to pay over on the house you buy.
That's the other part. Right. So the other side. So I don't know.
It's crazy. It's all relative. That's what people always say. It's all relative. Like you buy high, you sell high, you buy high. Like it doesn't matter. It's just, it's giving you comfort in this warm, fuzzy feeling. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. So
I like it like
sell
this.
low, you buy low.
I like it.
Right.
I like level playing field.
Yeah, exactly.
It should make things a lot easier.
Yeah.
But again, you're right with the media and everything else. They're the ones they're stirring the pot for everything.
Right.
And it's this negativity. I mean, I liked it better when it was 2, 4, and 7, and you had your news at 6 a.m., 6 p.m., and 11 p.m., and then you had the bars at night where you couldn't watch TV at night. It was all off. And
they tell you news from the world.
Yeah.
Instead of these are really opinion pieces, is what they're doing.
Completely.
It's one person's opinion. You could ask 10 people and get a different answer every time.
Yeah, or change the station and get a completely different.
Right.
I mean, you have the facts and you have the way that they take those facts and they manipulate them.
Yes.
To their way of thinking.
Right.
And that's where the issues come in. People need to start thinking for themselves.
Right.
They need to really do some, get online, get some education on what the facts are.
Right.
Talk to a professional. Talk to a real estate professional.
Yeah.
When I put items up on Facebook or Instagram or something, it's about, let's talk about it. If you're thinking about it,
right.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's figure out what the pros and cons are. Let's see, how this can benefit you. It may now, and it may not.
Right.
But at least you'll know.
Yes, I'm gonna have the conversation, and you'll instruct them and let them know the facts, and then they can do with it what they want.
Absolutely.
Which is like Victor said. He's like, I don't sell. He's like, I use the word selling when I'm transacting something that you don't need. He's like, I just educate. I give you the ideas and the tools and the stats, and then you make the decision. If you want to buy, great. If you don't, great.
Absolutely.
But I just want to educate you and let you know what's actually happening and what's in your best interest.
Absolutely. And having people like Vic, Danielle, over at the mortgage company is something that is huge because there's such a great catalyst for us to use for our clients to get the information because there's so many tools in their toolbox that they can use and they can play around with. And I think that's huge. And I have another girl that's really good for, she's doing really well with a lot of the young people with the first-time buyers and so forth that I use as well. And it's great to get them to talk to them because when you talk to an actual person as opposed to a big company, when you're talking to an actual local lender that can answer your questions about Livingston County, Oakland County, Washington, whatever it might be, know the different programs that are out there and can actually educate your clients, it makes you look so much better too. It's like, hey, I don't have the answers. I stay within my, within my realm, which is real estate. You want to go into the mortgage part, I've got professionals that can answer those questions for you and guide you the proper way. And it's really been beneficial for that because people feel a lot more comfortable when you refer someone that actually helps them. And then they have you. They know that they can come to you for anything. So, I mean, if they need a roofer, I got a roofer. I need an electrician, I got an electrician. I got a great inspector. All these different things that I have that I can refer you to, but I can't do it. So.
Which and that makes them trust you more because now you're not trying to answer everything. You're telling them like, look, I don't know the answers to these things, but I have members of my team that can answer you. You know, so you're kind of the one-stop shop.
Yep.
Which again, just goes back to you and lets people like you, trust you, and going to get their business.
Yeah. If I had an answer for everything, I wouldn't be honest. Right.
Right.
And then I think people realize that. I may not have all the answers, but I know where you can find the answers that I don't have.
Yes.
Or where I can find the answers.
Right.
That I don't have.
Yeah.
You know, for you. So, and I think that is imperative in any type of relationship, type of business. I mean, we're selling something that is probably the most expensive thing somebody will ever buy.
For sure.
Right? It's something to, house them, to help their families grow, for them to build families, to build legacies, things of that nature. And it's probably one of the most important purchases somebody will ever make.
For sure.
So if they can have somebody they trust to get them to that point, it's huge. And that's where, the relationships build and the referrals that we were talking about and repeat business.
Right.
Right. And I think those are the biggest things that we can do right there is be able to have those tools in our toolbox to be available for our clients.
Yeah.
Now and down the road.
Right.
So if they need something down the road and, something happens 6 months later, they know they can call me, say, hey, I've got this electrical problem. Do you know of anybody you can refer me to? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to put those weapons in place so you can use them. Cause like you said, it's tough to find good people in anything. Whether it be real estate, lending, home improvement. It's tough. So if you know people and you have a list of those names ready to go, it's great.
Right. Well, how many times you go on Facebook and someone says, I'm looking for whatever it might be. I've called this guy and they've never showed up, whatever, and most of the times the people that show up are the ones that aren't the best.
Right.
Right. Because they have time, right, to do it. Right. And sometimes you have to be patient. Yeah. Right. I've got a guy that does, he redid my master bathroom. Yeah. Did an absolutely gorgeous job. I had to wait 8 months for him to come in. Right. You got to be patient. You got to know who you can talk to. Yeah. And if you have that ability to let clients know that I'm here for you down the road. I'm not just here to sell you one house. Yeah. I'm here to help you through the whole process. Right. Right. And when you're ready to do something else, call me again. We'll go start all over again. Yeah. But if you have issues between now and then, I'm available for you. I'm here to help you. Right. Which is, it's huge. And then that's the other thing we were talking about with finance last time was people need to look at it as their portfolio. He's like, you're buying this portfolio and you have your loan on it. And he's like, we'll constantly monitor it just like you would if you had $1 million in stock. We're going to check and see, like, are you in the right place? Is your money in the right place? Right. Do you need to do things? Do you need to pull money out for this? Do you need to refinance to get a lower rate? So it's not this one-time thing where you're stuck in this. It's a great time to buy right now. Rates might be a little bit higher than they had been, but you can get the house, you can get it at a fair price, and you can constantly refinance it. There's people that are habitual refinancers that do it every 6 months. Yeah, if it looks good, why not do it? Right. And a lot of them, the cool part is what these mortgage companies are doing now too, is they're saying, do it now, refinance, and we're not going to charge you. Right. Wow. Yeah. That's a no-brainer. Right. And that's a smart thing for them to do. Yeah. Right? It's just, it all makes sense. And if we could just get this out to the people, life would be so much better. We'd be going crazy again. It would be booming. Absolutely. Yeah. And all there's no losing that. No, for anybody. No. That's what I don't understand. I'm like, okay, rates are high. You get a fair price on a house. If rates go up, you're a genius. If rates go down, you refinance. There's no lose in buying. Right. Exactly. And it's just, it just makes sense. And that's what baffles me. Yeah. Is I don't understand why our media can't get behind this and be the change. Right. Because that's what everybody listens to. Right. Right. Be the change. Yeah. And if we boring. Can be the change. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They'd rather hear about all these murders and everything else that are going on and all the craziness. That doesn't get the ratings. No, it doesn't, unfortunately. But that's why I don't watch the news anymore. Yeah, I don't blame you. Turn it off. I've noticed that too when we're talking about mindset, is that's kind of one of those big things where, like, you kind of are what you digest, whether you eat crappy food and you feel like crap, or if you listen to, BS news and this gloom and doom, that's kind of what you regurgitate. Yep. Whereas on the opposite side, if you read and learn and look at these things that are actually telling you facts and the reality of the situation, your mindset is completely different. It has to be. Yeah. It has to be. It's crazy. It's just, and then knowing the right facts, because again, you got the CNN, you got the Fox, right? I mean, so they've got their facts, but really, are those the facts?
Right.
Let's go somewhere in the middle there and we can come together, right? And then that's basically how it works. So it's not a difficult thing, but when you want to get the facts, talk to someone that's a professional in the business.
Right.
Call me.
Yeah.
Right. Let me know. What you need.
Right.
What kind of questions do you have?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. Let's have a conversation and figure things out. And if it's right, it's right. If it's not, it's not. We revisit it another time.
Right. And there's always the situation where, people always have to move, whether it be job, relocation, divorce, whatever the situation is. But so sometimes I get it when people don't want to sell because they have a really low rate. And they don't have to sell. That makes sense. But to me, the ones that are first-time buyers and they're renting, those are the ones that blow my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Why would you want it? You're paying 100% interest,
Absolutely.
Right now, you're paying 100% interest, but you don't want to get in the market because rates are 6.5% on something that appreciates in value.
Yeah, and you can't sell it to make money, right? So you're paying so much more in rent.
Yeah.
You could be paying so much less for a mortgage. Now, a lot of them are concerned about down payments. They don't have the money for that. But there's programs out for first-time buyers, too, that can help them, where they don't bring anything to the table or very little to the table.
Yeah.
If they got to bring $1,500 to the table, borrow it from mom and dad if you have to, or whoever. Do what you got to do, but get into a house, or a condo or something to where you have ownership, where you get a deed.
Yeah, you get a write-off on your taxes for the
number one. Yep.
The interest the interest is tax deductible,
right?
So who cares, And then on top of it, appreciates in value. So that's
all
great.
the time. Yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah,
it's not going down.
Which is why investors love when they say stuff like this doom and gloom, because they just keep upping their rent prices. And people keep paying it because they're scared to buy a house.
They have no choice.
Yeah.
They have no choice. And because they don't have the tools in their toolbox, right? They haven't been given them. They haven't talked to a mortgage person that could give them a game plan. Okay, this is what you need to do for the next 6 months so that we can get you approved for your mortgage and know exactly where you're at. Start now. If you don't think you have anything, start now. Talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And start building what you need to do, know what you need to do from the professionals, and get everything in order.
Yeah.
And then when 6 months is up, you get your pre-approval, you get with me, with Kirsten, with a real estate agent, and you start looking for houses.
Yeah.
That's the game plan.
Yeah.
And you start making a plan and start working it.
Right.
You have to.
Which is what everybody should do anyway. It's weird, one of those things where people just kind of get a bug and I'm going to go buy a house, like you said, put together a game plan, give it 6 months, maybe put a little money away, really figure out your budget so that you can get some time behind it and see how would I adjust to this payment, if it's more, if it's less. But yeah, come up with a game plan, which is cool too, because in the car business, you probably don't get that chance. Somebody comes in, you run credit, you don't qualify, out the door. See you later. You know what I mean? Get the next one.
So then they go to the buy here, pay here's, and they pay 24.5%, on a beater. Yeah. Right? That they're financing.
Yeah.
What they own it for. It's just, it's crazy, but people do it all day long.
Yeah.
Because they have to have wheels.
Right.
They have to have wheels to get to work and so forth.
Right.
And they get themselves in these situations.
Yeah. But they should need a house. That's
absolutely.
That's the thing. It's one of those things where it's everybody needs it. Everybody needs a place to live.
Yep.
Regardless. And it's why would you rent when you can buy? And there's never been I shouldn't say there's never been a better time to buy. There hasn't been a better time to buy in the last 2.5 years.
Absolutely.
Than right now.
But people don't think that they can buy because they're listening to all this doom and gloom that we're talking about. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important for them to reach out and just talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Just make the call, get a conversation going, figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure out what you got to do.
If someone wants to get a hold of you to talk about their steps, what they need to do, and just kind of go through it and figure out if it's a good time to buy, if it's not a good time to buy or sell, how do they get a hold of you?
They can call me or text me at 248-921-3176 or send me an email to lisasourealtor@gmail.com. That's LISASOUREALTOR@gmail.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. It was great to get to know more about you and talk about the market. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Brett, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
It's great.